And here we are.
Whoa, you didn't do the other intro. Oh, okay. Caught me off guard there.
This is
Sorry.
a short 1 minute intro.
Well, yeah, but then we had the other no driving gloves thing that usually plays.
Nope, not on the new intro.
Oh, well, we just do the countdown now. Okay. Can I just say I'm digging the music on the new countdown. Gets me pumped up for the show.
Free, copyrighted, or non-copyrighted, or I don't know. It's free and available.
It's free. It's the best thing there is.
Oh, not liking my green screen tonight. So here we are. Hello, Darlin.
Hello.
My darling Clementine.
Or we could have said hello, Dolly.
Yeah, the clone sheep.
Sure, why not? Clones. We could talk about clones tonight. How do you feel about cloned cars?
It all depends. You mean the ones that the Chinese make of the Buicks that we have, or?
Well, I mean, we could talk about those, or we could talk about, just clones in general, like a Hemi Cuda clone, or because I just saw one the other day, or like the Bullet Mustang clones that are out there. Or we could go with our original topic. Either way,
we can talk about whatever we want. It's our show.
What have you been up to, John?
About 5'7".
You are kind of a short guy.
Yes, but I can fit in just about anything. I get in where I fit in. I can't remember who used to say that.
No idea.
Nope, can't remember.
Buy any new cars? No.
It's a rapper. No new cars. Nope, no new cars. Don't even think one crossed. I was trying to think of one crossed my mind. I did see the new Kia Electric today on a lot.
Like in person. Okay.
Yes, like in person. I ran before the dealer could come and try to charge me $15,000 more than sticker, but
just for looking at it.
Yeah.
Charge it. Yeah.
Got to do a credit app to test drive it, but it's $5 look fee. It's like a peep show. Peekaboo. Oh. And I guess we should have a moment of silence for the 4,000 Volkswagen products that found their deep grave. When they're 2 miles underwater, I don't think they're coming back up.
It's a good place for them.
They're probably compact cars now. But
no, they all became Bond cars. They
probably bonded together.
Well, that too. Yeah.
Especially the ones near the Volkswagen Electrics that had the lithium fires.
Bonded or fused, one of the two.
Just kind of melted into one. They went back to their natural, their pre-stamped days.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and those are going to have a lot of aluminum in them, everything on there. So it's not even going to take a lot to melt them.
No, not at all. There's probably puddles of aluminum now at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, but I didn't want to talk too much about it. I mean, if you're a car person, it's all over the news. If you're not a car person and you're casually listening, Another one of these massive transport ships caught fire on the 15th of February. And when they were towing it back to port after they finally got the fires extinguished, it sunk yesterday. And it's the second time it's happened to Porsche in 3 years. I think they need to find a new shipper.
Possibly.
So if you were to go back in time, Derek, I wish I had a thing I could do on the screen, but you'll just have to live with my fingers.
Can't you get the sound effect? Don't you have a sound effect board? Don't we have one of those?
We have a couple of them, but I don't have a on it. I think I do it better.
All right, if you say so.
I can't think of that guy's name. Yeah. Michael Winslow. You would mistake me for Michael Winslow, wouldn't you? That's the guy that does all the sounds, right? From.
So what were you trying to ask?
Well, when you go back in time and you're thinking of your youth, that's kind of where the theme of the show is supposed to be tonight is what were the few things in the past that I wouldn't say, well, I said it here, were your darlings, but what kind of slid you down the road to cars? And I'm not saying like your taproot car, not the car that you knew you were a car person, but there had to be things that started to, look pretty, sound good, smell good, say taste good. I have a tendency to want to lick cars, but where did it all begin? That's the short question.
I hope it's not a short question. Well, maybe it's a short question, long answer, because we got a lot of time to kill here. I didn't know you were going that direction with this, John. That changes my whole thinking process here. I mean, I think I've said it on the show before. There are pictures of me as a kid, even just playing with car toys. So, yeah, but I think probably the earliest. Well, I can actually tell you the earliest, probably real car, not toy car, that kind of led me down that path of wanting to know more about cars and probably want to, work on cars, which was the 1937 Ford that my dad has. He's had it since he bought it in like 1974, I think it was 73, 74. And, actually had it almost completely restored, at least in primer, had been working on the engine, things like that. And, did the whole got married, had kids thing, obviously, because, I mean, the world has me, right? And so it kind of got put in the back corner and never got finished. So as a kid, all the way from my littlest days of running around, there was this 37 Ford in, we just lost our background. Nice work, John.
Oh, I just purposely changed it. I thought it was a little too busy.
You distract me when you do things like that. But it was always in the barn. It was always out in the shop, in the pole barn, kind of tucked in the back corner because, life was happening around and we didn't have time to get out to it. I was still little. I couldn't really help. And, but I always just kind of went out and stared at it and wondered. And so I think that was probably the one that as a littlest kid, because it was actually tangible. It was right there. It was, our property. So, I could get close to it. I could dream about what it could be. And so that's probably where it really, really started in the beginning.
Now, I probably would blame, I have this magazine that I say is when I definitely knew I was a car person. I talk about There's been pictures of me put up of me in this 70 Charger my parents used to have and used to cry at stoplights. So it's been in me since like I was born. But what got me, I think, some of I want to say one of the earliest car memories I have was the old show Heart to Heart. I don't know if anybody remembers it. This is early 74, 76-ish. Mercedes convertible in it, Ferrari Dino. In the opening credits, and that's the first cars I remember seeing on TV. And then, I probably jumped to the Dukes of Hazzard and TV. TV did it to me. BJ and the Bear was, wanted to be my trucker. We had a emergency with the fire trucks. That kind of, that and it wasn't definitely wasn't the plot lines of some of these shows. It was the cars made me want to watch. Even on Fantasy Island, I just loved the Dodge Aspens Plymouth Velaris with the soft tops with the little dingle balls hanging around them. They look like the Fiat Jollies and things like that. So I blame TV for a lot of my life. TV raised me. And TV's where my lust for cars started. And it's probably why my lust for cars started with exotics. I wasn't a muscle car person. I wasn't an old car person. I've always been into the exotics, and not just, it's even before I knew some cars were exotics. The 246 Dino one, Heart to Heart, for instance. I just knew it was a cool car.
So you're a Tom Selleck fan?
Actually, I never watched Magnum PI. It wasn't until the last few years that I've actually watched Magnum PI. New and old episodes now. There was one more that popped into my head, though, that was around there. But it wasn't Magnum PI. Of course... all basically all the cool people always had cool cars. And that's to me, true. It was always, well, to me, it I don't know if was is the appropriate word, but it's a status symbol. It's something that looks cool. Yeah, I realize, I'm not quite as materialistic as I was, last Tuesday, but it's just, I like the curves. I like the sexiness. I like, Chips' motorcycles, Toby. I'm not a motorcycle guy. Unless we're talking about what did they use as police cars on Chips? Was that what was prior to the Diplomat? It was the same damn car, but
I didn't watch Chips. I'm not that old.
Knight Rider, Hardcastle and McCormick.
Mm-hmm. I do recall, like Knight Rider, and I guess thinking back to like inspirations like that, or at least like seeing cars on TV, stuff like that. That does play a huge role, I think, in my life too. I recall fondly Knight Rider. Dukes of Hazzard, of course. But then as I got a little older, even, I think I've mentioned them on here, watching Nash Bridges with Don Johnson. Of course, Miami Vice. I mean, you had Miami Vice with Don Johnson back in the day. And oddly enough, I was obsessed with, or maybe not obsessed, that's probably the wrong word, but when Dodge came out with their new Ram truck in the 94 to 95 switchover, the drop down fenders, all that classic Dodge Ram look that we all know now. I was just obsessed with that look of that truck. And the TV show that did it for me was, of course, Walker Texas Ranger with Chuck Norris, because that's what. Well, he drove a Chevy first, and then he switched over to the new Dodge when it came out.
The yeah, in '94 when that Dodge Ram was introduced with the drop fenders, going retro, however you want to call it. My dad even stepped up to the plate. Now he's always been a Dodge guy, but he bought a 3500 chassis. Put a big box truck on one of those cabs, and then he had a '96, and I had a '97, and I almost weep anymore when I'm driving down the road and I'm seeing the newest Dodge Rams, because those fenders on the outside just keep inching up, and now it's almost like just a 2-inch drop or something. It's nothing drastic. They've almost went back to, they're still a little distinct, but it's not.
It's like a suggestion now.
Yeah, the radical thing they did. I don't want to make this another show about movie cars and TV cars, but that's kind of where my start went.
Yeah.
A lot of listeners know I used to own a Caterham 7, which is a continuation of the Lotus 7. Speaking of clone cars, and I remember being at my doctor's office, my pulmonary doctor, back when I had asthma problems and allergy problems, which I kind of outgrew most of them, but it was Dr. Morgan. And I was up there.
Did he drive a Morgan?
No, I was looking out the window and a yellow, I don't know if it was a Lotus 7, Caterham 7 went by, and I had to have that car. And it took me years to figure out what it was. Didn't know what it was when it drove by, but I had to have one of those, and, eventually got to that point. Started to read the car magazines, and I'm trying. Our next door neighbors, they probably helped. They lived in this little town of about 11,000 people. Maybe it was 13,000 people.
That's a little town.
And our neighbors, and they still own it. I'm still chat on Facebook. As a matter of fact, I told them about a gun recently for sale, because they're a big gun dealer in Central Illinois. Really, really knowledgeable on Lugers, but they always had cool cars. They had a Pantera in the garage. They had an 81 Audi Quattro, the cars you'll kill for right now. The 81 Audi Quattro, the 79 RX-7, Jaguar XJ6, these neat cars, which were kind of unheard of in the town of 11,000 in the middle of farm country. They just, and they were right next to me, and, you'd ride your bike and just hope the garage was open, and you'd like to see, the Pantera in there. They hardly ever drove. They still own the Pantera. I know. I was talking to him about it recently, and, he's still into cars himself. He's got his Audi R8, and he's got his, I think he wrecked his Porsche Cayenne, hit a deer, and I think he ended up with a GMC Yukon, but he might still have a Porsche. I don't know, but they're still into cars. But, those little things, those, nuggets, some of you watched football and fell in love with football. That's that thing they play on Sundays with the brown, they throw the brown turd at each other. That's football.
Oh, okay. Cool. So that's actually funny, John, because, as a kid growing up, of course, we've talked about it on the show before, our inspirations, and, my dad being a body man and restoring cars all of my life, that's what really got me into all of this. But I was just, he worked on them, and he enjoyed, bringing them back and stuff like that. But he'll even say, he's not steeped in the history. I go into that learning the history of them as well as working on them and doing all that. And, I think my family, like even my extended family, noticed that there was something odd about me. And I'm going to say it's odd because I'm strange, but so much so that, when they heard about, through friends that, either a friend or a friend's friend had some unique car laying around or had just acquired one, they'd find out if they could take me to see it. And I still have somewhere in all my stuff the picture of me. I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and a friend of my mom's side of the family, the big farm side of the family, uh, they had bought one of the new Lamborghinis, the Countach that had come out, and so my uncle found out if they could bring me over to see it, and I've got this picture of me standing next to this Lamborghini when I'm like 6 years old, because my family knew I was obsessed with cars.
I'm trying to think of what year did you say that was, or is your
I have six, it would have been, late 80s, early 90s. So maybe not when it was brand new, but
well,
yeah,
they ran the Lamborghini, Countachs until 88 and a half.
yeah.
Because I
So
was
it might have been
probably
one of the
putting you
last
about
ones.
85, 86 there. You youngins.
Yeah, no, I was born in 83. So there you go. Y'all know how old I am now.
Yeah. I was 4 when the Lamborghini came out in 74. P400 Periscope. Back when they had cool things. We need to do a show on the cool things they used to have in cars, like the Periscope Lamborghinis.
Yeah. And the wings that did nothing. They were just there.
They were $4,000 a piece in the mid 80s for a Lamborghini rear wing.
Yeah, and they did nothing. They were just there for looks.
Yeah, but that's something we've never outgrown.
Oh, that's true.
So, except, you only hear about the stupid little wings, the little duckbill thing on the Audi TT. Otherwise, they spin off the road if you don't have this little 2-inch high,
exactly
3-foot wide piece of metal on the back of your car.
So, okay, John, I'll seeing you started this off with a question for me. I got one for you. If we're talking about our kind of inspirations or what, got us going in this when we were kids, and you're talking about always being into the exotics, you obviously walked away from the exotics at various parts of your life. You were always a Lotus guy. You were always, things like that. But we all know for a while you got into like, mini trucks and the different things you've done and gotten into over time. So what inspired you to get into those other angles other than exotics?
Oh boy, you're gonna make the evil parts of me come out.
I try.
Attention. I always wanted something new. I always wanted something somebody would talk about, and I didn't have a lot of money, so build a lowered truck, build a car with a huge car stereo in it. Which that ironically is got to have a lot of money to do. But it was basically, I like to have attention. And to me, cars always brought attention because I've always been a car person and I still have trouble. And I'm having more and more conversations and it's getting scarier and scarier because either I'm getting old or the world's drastically changing.
You're
and I
getting
think
old.
it's a combination of both where people go, cars don't mean anything to me. Cars don't mean anything to me. You could drive up in a brand new Bentley or a Rolls Royce convertible and they'll go, ooh, that's different, but they don't get excited over it. Me, I've always gotten excited over everything. So in my mind, if I'm going to get excited over it, they're going to get excited over it. And it literally, it's that shallow. It's always, what can I do and have attention? And eventually you ask about a changing, and I had built my second or third custom CRX at the time, motor swap, lowered 17-inch wheels, all this stuff, and sold it again for 30 cents on the dollar. And I finally said, if I start buying real cars, I'm going to get most of my money back, if not more, when I go to sell them. And that's when I went and bought my first Lotus. And when I went, and I started to buy Lotus and that, and I quit customizing my cars. I started buying real cars for real money that didn't depreciate, never lost money on any of that stuff. Made money on my Caterham, made money on, the Europa, and so on and so on. So going exotics, getting into the mini, I was in high school. I mean, that's what, I was a shallow high school kid that, just wanted, go to a party and, meet a girl. So
I was just going to say girls. That's what you're saying here.
Yeah. I mean, the Beastie Boys wrote a song about it back then, girls.
Yeah.
So
you said something interesting though, and I've got to jump to it because I found it interesting, but you said, the world's changing and nowadays you can pull up in, some car, whether it's an antique car, a modern car, supercar, exotic, whatever. And there are a lot of people that'll just go, oh, that's nice. Isn't that's unique? That's different. And they don't get excited. They don't get inspired by it. Are cars that are coming out today not inspiring kids? Is that part of a problem? Like, is there, I think you probably see where I'm going here, but is it partially that the cars that are being designed, or a majority of the cars that are being designed, just aren't inspirational? I mean, we just talked about in the pre-show that the announcement of the, Stellantis and the new Chrysler lineup and the new Chrysler Airflow they unveiled. But, I mean, is it just cars aren't inspirational, or are people just not as interested in cars?
I think people aren't as interested in cars. The world has changed. It used to be, I grew up in a world where I loved my cell phone, and cell phones, I think, have killed some of the interest in cars because you're always in communication with somebody now. This internet thing that we're on, I think, killed some cars because we can talk to each other face to face in person. We don't need a car to go anywhere. It's the world's just a little bit different like that. And you say, yeah, I think there's a lot of boring cars on the market, not inspirational cars. I mean, I think somebody posted to the Radwood page yesterday or the day before a coupe shootout of 1991 or something, and there's like 18 two-door coupes, and and that's in the $15,000 to $25,000 range back then, I think. And that's probably like a $40,000 to $50,000 range now. But now there's only like 5 or 6 coupes. I mean, we talk about manual transmissions going away. Where the hell did all the two-door cars go?
Yeah.
But I think the proportion, if you really probably looked at it in percentages, the percentage of these two-door coupes that are fun to drive, or some of the four-door sedans that are fun to drive, that are built for an enthusiast, they only make up this 2 or 3% of the car sales. But I think if you really went down to it and you really looked at the population, only 1 or 2% of the population are car people now. Where it used to be, look at the old movies from the 50s, the 50s era, or that everything revolved around the car. You'd go to your drive-in and, watch a movie. You'd go to your drive-in, like Sonic, that's as close as you can get now, and get, everything revolved around your car. And, I used to spend every weekend 3 or 4 hours Friday night, 3 or 4 hours Saturday night, driving up and down 2 miles of road in bumper to bumper stop. It'd take you an hour to go down the road. And now I bitch about it because of traffic. I used to go purposely get in a traffic jam because it was fun. And all of a sudden, they broke that up. They stopped cruising.
Mm-hmm.
And you might go back to, that's when cars started to die. They stopped letting kids cruise anymore. And then they started putting all this stuff on cars that you can't customize them easily or modify them. I mean, I'm going back to 88 or so, where, you know, you had your Monte Carlo Grand Prix, whatever. Can't think of the third car that's in that group. Olds Cutlass, and you pop the stereo out. You put a Pioneer Super Tuner 3 in. You put a Pioneer TRS X80s in the rear window that were surface mount triangular speakers, and you could do all that stuff. You can't do that anymore. I mean, going to a Best Buy today, there's barely a car audio section.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can get keyless entry or remote start.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny because I remember, like, back in high school, I had the GTO, but I also had the 93 Beretta, the Chevy Beretta. Fantastic little 2-door car, quick as could be. I mean, they were probably not a car a kid should have, but it was fun. And a buddy of mine had a Beretta as well. He had the 5-speed. He was lucky. I had the automatic. It wasn't quite as fun, but I remember, doing the same thing, getting a new radio head unit and everything, pulling the old one out, the factory one out, and putting a different one in. And, I think one of my buddies had some really nice speakers. I don't even remember what brand they were at this point, but, a nice set of speakers that fit into the factory mounts on the rear parcel shelf. And, I think I traded him like a CB radio I had laying around from one of the projects Dad and I had in the shop or something. And, just pulled the car in the shop, and you take the back of the, back seat out, and you pull the speakers down. You could do all that at that time. And, I remember distinctly in high school, we'd go out cruising or just whatever, go out, Friday night, and, dinner or whatever with buddies. And there were multiple times, of course, I hung out with guys that were into cars. We'd go to Best Buy and walk around, we into cars and electronics, right? That's what we were into. And we'd go to Best Buy, and, a couple of my buddies might go over and look at the new computers because they were into computers. And me and a couple other friends would be over in this car stereo systems, looking at all the new radio head units and everything you could get, and dreaming about what we could put in our cars.
I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments. They're so
I try to read them too.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick's got a point right there that, and he's making a reference to working on a university campus in 05. 9 out of 10 students had driver's licenses, and now he says,
lucky if it's 1
now
out of
it's
10.
one, and now it's lucky if it's 1 in 10. And my ex had a kid that was 16, 17, and he never had a desire to get a driver's license. I mean, part of it was his arrogance is, oh, why do I need to learn to drive? You'll drive me everywhere. But it's he and the, a lot of people in his high school, they didn't care. There's no desire to get a driver's license. Flip side, another one of my exes that had a daughter the same age as this guy got, seemed to be excited, I guess, because I know she got a car as soon as she turned 16, and got a pretty cool car because it was a Mini Cooper. And that I'll go to Jason's comment where he asked, John, what is my dream vehicle that I will most likely own someday? I don't know. I was talking to, was it Brandy last night, and I was showing her a picture of a friend's Huracan, and he got new wheels for it, and they're marble. They're a marble finish, not gray, not black. They kind of marble-ish. And she said something, well, I'm never gonna have a car like that. I can't stop dreaming, can't stop reaching for the sky. Maybe one day, so who knows what I might be able to afford, when everybody buys us a coffee, nodrivinggloves.com/coffee, buy us a cup of coffee and that. You buy us enough coffees, I mean, I could be rolling in that Huracan.
Or you could get a Ford Pinto and just have the wheels like vinyl wrapped to look like marble and be the same.
Yeah. I could just get marble wheels for the Mini. But
Actually, if you got the Flintstone mobile, you could just have marble wheels to start out.
They'd make you sick as they went round and round. But Jason, you could have bet me any amount of money 12 months ago on how much I would like a Mini, and you could say you'd love it, and I'm saying absolutely not. I would have lost that bet because that car has really reignited my passion for cars and love for cars. I don't know why, but it's something that's fun, blah, blah, blah. Of course, it is a two-door, hatchback, front wheel drive. And we all know I love two-door hatchbacks that are front wheel drive. That's my thing.
Kind of the hot hatchback world, if you will.
I mean,
right. Christine and I were just talking about hot hatchbacks the other day because we took the kids up to the mall because they have a carousel, and the kids love riding carousels. And but when we were pulling in the parking lot, sure enough, here's this little Ford Focus ST hot hatchback in front of us, and it's just a cool looking car. Like hot hatchback, something about a hot hatchback. It's cool.
I mean, our occasional co-host Yoder, he he's had his Challengers, he's had his Mustang GTs, but he's had his FRSs, and he's had his Fiats, and I'm trying to remember the other one. Oh, he had one of those Focus. I don't know if he had an RS or an ST, but he had one of those. And so he's all over the board when it comes to cars with that, that Sean. I love my Velocitors, again, front wheel drive hatchbacks, 3-door, not 4, but
yeah, you got the 3 doors, you got the 5 doors, anyway.
But the Velociter, is a 3-door plus a hatchback.
That's right. That was the 3-door. Yep.
It's the asymmetrical car.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know what's around the corner. I mean, if I had $100K to go drop on a car today, I'd probably say I might go buy a Lucid. But then there's a good chance that I might go buy one of the new Mercedes electrics that are coming out. And then there's a good chance I might go out and buy a Viper, So I don't know. I go through cars like, some people go through underwear and toilet paper. So I don't know how to answer that question for you, Jason.
And okay, I'm not even going to touch that.
Yeah. I wanted to expand on your Tesla one, but we're really trying to avoid electric car talk for a while. It creeps in.
Yeah.
But, that's all that's in the news, and we have so many episodes where we talk about it. We're trying to stick a little bit to just cars and not necessarily discuss how they're powered.
So speaking of hot hatchbacks, minis, small fuel efficient cars, what should I get, John? I think we mentioned it last week. Well, Will, I think, brought it up last week on the show, that a couple weeks ago I had an unfortunate incident occur, and my beautiful, amazing, wonderful 2018 Centennial Edition Silverado is no longer with me. It has left this world as probably scrap parts after a car accident. And so I am in the market for something new. And I've always been pretty much always been a truck guy. Early on, yes, I had the GTO to start, and then the Beretta. But after that, I really started getting into pretty much only owning trucks. Unfortunate short time where I owned an SUV. We won't talk about what it was because I don't want to offend anybody. But I've literally, since probably the age of 2021, right around there, only driven trucks. That is all I've pretty much owned and driven as a modern everyday car. Now, do I have the other cars, the Ford Falcon, the cars I have, the collection cars? Yeah, I've got those, and I'll drive those occasionally. But I'm feeling after the accident, I love that truck. We talk about cars that we love. That was finally a truck that I owned. That when I got out of it at work or somewhere I was going, that was the truck that I finally, you turn around and you go, man, that is a good looking truck. They nailed the design on it. They nailed the color. It's a centennial, series. It's honoring the history of the company. And so I'm actually feeling very heartbroken and uninspired to buy a new car
Yeah,
because I just don't know what to do. And the market sucks right now.
Yeah, you've got the market challenge against you, but there are deals to be had. I keep bumping into people that are getting deals, and you achieve that goal. And the Mini's my first car in a long time. Probably, you might go back to my Porsche, or you might go back to even my Lotus 7. So 10, 12 years that you get out and you turn around and you smile because that's the car. And it's just a challenge because I know some of the reasons you want the smaller car, but you might end up missing the truck. And you right now are in that dilemma that even without the market the way it is, that I was in, when I bought my 2018 Transit Connect. I want a small, fuel efficient pickup, and they don't make them. I had so many hopes for this Ford Maverick. It's still too damn big. And I don't know if it's still there, but there was a Ranger on Carvana, low mileage, everything 2010 Ranger for $22,000 or something ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But,
it's just stupid.
Trucks to me are stupid. I was told at one point in time, any pickup truck's worth $4,000 all day long. And this is 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And sure as heck, that guy was right. I never really found a good truck less than that for my entire life. And when I bought the Egg, my Mazda 5 kind of minivan, that'd probably be a cool car for you, Derek, because you like to work on them. They're great cars, but they require a lot of maintenance. You can buy them dirt cheap.
Can't imagine why.
And you can get a manual transmission. But there's just nothing out there truck-wise. I mean, trucks, no. Any truck that starts is $20,000. And now with the change, any truck that starts is $30,000. And I don't understand trucks. I don't understand where people are paying for things. I was listening to one of my favorite car podcasts today when I was driving, and they made the comment that, the average price of a car, now is $40-some thousand.
Mm-hmm.
And how do people afford it? It's not that they're making more money. They're getting longer loans.
Mm-hmm.
Most cars are financed now on a 72 to a 76-month loan. And 84s month loans are out there, and 96-month loans are out there.
96. Yep. One of the banks I use, it offers a 96-month loan.
What is that? 9 years?
8 years.
8 years?
Yep.
And I'm going to, if you go back to Auto Week, when it was actually a published magazine, and you pull out an issue from 1988, we'll say, you can get in the back and they have exotic car financing on 96-month terms so that you could afford your $100,000 Ferrari or something on payments. And now that's where we are for everyday cars. Just a little hint for anybody looking at a 96-month loan car. The car isn't going to last 96 months, period. You are never going to pay that car off. You will pay off a pile of scrap metal, but you're never going to pay the car off. You're going to be in such a world of upside down. And believe me, I've lived in the world of upside down car notes. That was my life up until 3-4 years ago. Always upside down, always upside down. But I'm not answering your question, Derek, but it's
but Jason added into the conversation, is the truck out of necessity because you need something to haul stuff, or is it more practical, or would you buy a car? So yeah, I've been asking myself that. I'm really thinking about buying a small fuel efficient car to start out. First place.
I
and
don't
then
know.
I do haul a lot of stuff. So I'd probably, in a little while be looking for a beater truck, something cheaper, mileage on it that I can just go run to Lowe's and pick up the stuff I need. Or if I know there's car parts somewhere, I can jump in it and, it'll make it back and forth on a trip. But right now I'm thinking small fuel efficient car.
I came up with just two popped into my head, and both are very workable for you because you don't mind working on cars. One would be a Buick Regal Tour X, which is the station wagon Buick that they sold up until about a year and a half ago. They're still going to probably be in that $20,000-$30,000 range. So that's the high end. The ideal car for you. And Dennis Brunton taught me about this car, and he used them and used them and used them. And I mean, this is 15 years ago, but there's no reason you can't use one now. 95 Caprice, Olds Delta 88, or not Delta 88, Olds Vista Cruiser, or Buick Roadmaster station wagon. LT1s, so they're easy to work on. They get 25 miles a gallon. Towing, they'll still pull 20 miles a gallon, and they tow up to 5,000 pounds. Perfect car for you.
It's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
I mean, you don't mind. They're going to require a little bit of maintenance and upkeep because, shit, it's a 25-year-old car. But there are some, really good ones out there because it wasn't people like me buying those cars in 95, hot rodding the hell out of them. It was people like my grandmother, who's 90 something now, that didn't hot rod the heck out of them. She has a really nice Grand Marquis in her garage right now. Low mileage. She thinks is worthless. Yeah. I hope she doesn't sell it for what she thinks it's worth. It's kind of like, when Christine goes
I'll give her
to sell
cash for it.
When Christine goes to sell your tools, or Brandy goes to sell my stuff, and they try to sell it for what we told them we paid.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So. But yeah, seriously, I'll give your grandma cash for it for what she wants.
I'll tell you what, I could give her cash for what she thinks it's worth, sell it to you for double, and you could probably still double your money on the car.
There we go. Look at that. We're working a deal here.
It's just like retail. I buy it, I double the price. You buy it, you double the price.
Exactly. So. Actually, that's funny. I got to look this up because I want to remember which body style that is, Jason.
Oh, good. I've had to have told the story on the podcast at some point, but I got a call in 1993 from my dad. He was bored watching a baseball game, and he was going to go buy a car. And he was thinking of aluminum Z34 coupe, which Jason's suggesting for Derek here. So we're talking a 93-ish one. Or he was going to go buy a Lexus SC 400. I can see how that was a very cross-shoppable car. Not. And we ended up talking it out, and I told him that he'd probably be better served with a four-door because I've never liked the Lexus SCs. The SC 430 I liked, but the 400 and the 300, I just never liked those bodies. And
so I got to
talk him into the LS 400, but
yeah. So the funny, I got it, Jason with the 91 Lumina, and then of course I had the 93 Beretta. So, we're kind of in the same family here, but this is probably something many people will want to kill me for. But one of the cars I always, I guess, kind of for some reason had a desire to own when I was younger was the kind of right around the 1997 Olds Cutlass, but the two-door sedan they had. You remember those, John?
And they had the big glass canopy on them.
Yeah.
Um, if you get on the Radwood Facebook page, there's a couple of guys that are huge into them, and they're
Yeah.
always finding deals on them.
I think the styling's cool. Like there's just something about it. I think it's a good looking car.
I remember the business manager for my dad's company. He bought one of those, and I couldn't understand why he didn't buy the convertible, but he was bald and blamed it on his bald head. But
No, I didn't like the convertible.
but he bought one.
That's
he bought
one of the cars that convertible ruins the styling of it.
Well, they kept that roll bar hoop in them, which never,
Well, yeah,
but his was that blue green, kind of that teal that Beretta had, but it was definitely a little bit more green. I mean, it was a pretty car. Unfortunately, I think Dad fired him like 6 months after he bought it. But
yeah, good idea. Right there, baby.
Ooh, and the itty bitty headlamps. On the flip side of that, we had a 91 Grand Prix, which is basically the same car with a, just kind of a different roof line. And I love that car. That was, trying to remember. No, I think that's what my mom sold her, LeBaron again. I was trying to think if that was pre-divorce or post-divorce. That was pre-divorce because she ended up getting rid of that for her SN95 Mustang. But I always loved tooling around in that Grand Prix in high school. Not as much as the, well, I guess it was after high school, but whatever you want to say when I'm 20 years old. But not as fun as the LeBaron convertible was, but that's the way she rolls.
I could always get a Solstice again. Christine would kill me, but I could always get a Solstice again.
Well, honestly, you've talked about it and you've talked about it. A Corvette wouldn't be a C6 Corvette wouldn't be a bad thing in that 2-seat sports car because it's a Corvette, but they get fabulous gas mileage.
They get great gas mileage. You're right. They do for what they are. They get great gas mileage, but the 2-seat fun car is probably out of the question because we have the kiddos, at least for now. Right. And, cause that was the truck it was a crew cab. So we could get the kids in the back, things like that. So yeah, we have the Acadia, but we really probably need something 4-seat, capable just in case we need to load the kids in it and go somewhere.
Wow. Pontiac GTO.
No, I want one.
Freaking expensive.
I found a few that are reasonably priced. But somebody in the house doesn't like the styling of them, so it's not high on the list. But man, would I like to have one.
Jason, you have this problem with cars because we've talked about some cars and you can buy some of these cars literally for 10 cents on the dollar that you've talked about. But a Mercedes AMG, yeah, you could buy a used one at 10 cents on the dollar, but there's two problems. You get a visit at the dealership most of the time. And AMG and gas mileage, they don't go together.
That's an
except the new electric Mercedes that does have an AMG variant. Or I guess you could buy a C230 with an AMG package on it. That would be a good car for you. About a 99 Mercedes C430 AMG.
No, I'm good. Well, I've actually been, honestly, I'm slipping into the John mode because I've looked at a couple minis. I have looked at a couple Fiats. Yeah, so I've looked at some of the John style cars, if you will.
Um, we won't bore you with another episode of why John would tell you not to buy either one of those cars.
Well, yeah, I know that too. So that's what I do. I look at them and I go, man, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. And then I go, yeah, but then everything John says. So then I quickly go away from them.
That $1,500 water pump on the Mini, you know, if you buy it with a warranty, fine. Fiat, I wouldn't even buy with a warranty. I honestly don't know if you could give me a Fiat.
I mean, if someone gave it to me, I'd take it.
No, I don't know if you could give me a Fiat. As a matter of fact,
I mean, why
I
not? Why
bought a
wouldn't if
Fiat
somebody
X19.
gave you one, wouldn't you just drive the wheels off of it and not care? You didn't owe anything on it.
They
just beat on it.
I had a Fiat X19 and I had my Fiat 500 Sport. Oh yeah, and I drove it for the whole day it ran. And literally, I gave both of those cars away.
But that day you drove it was fun, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
See? Boom, done.
It was a dark green with the baseball glove leather interior. They only made like 300 of them, that color scheme. It's really nice. But, and, you know,
actually,
Yoder loved his. And my ex-wife bought hers in 2012. And 10 years later, I think she's still driving it. But I think she bought, she did tell me, and this is what needs to happen to you. She was riding somewhere. Her and a friend and their friend's husband and somebody else were going somewhere, and they were riding in this Xterra, and they made the people that owned it, the couple that owned it, made a comment that they were going to sell it. And she said, well, what do you think you're going to ask for it? And they told her the number, and she goes, I'll buy it for that. So she bought an Xterra to, you know, have alongside the Fiat, but she's the Fiat's 10 years old and really never let her down.
Well, there you go. So I actually found one of the electric minis on a lot in Nashville.
The electric Mini has a very limited range.
I was just going to say, it is really freaking cool. Okay. It's obviously the Mini, but you will never guess how it's painted, John.
Is it the neon yellow or the orange?
Nope, it's the green with the yellow Lotus number 5 Jim Clark car paint scheme on it. And I was just like, oh my God, how can it be? It's a Mini, but it's a tribute to Jim Clark. I'm like, oh my. And at first I saw it and I was thinking it was maybe one of the actual internal combustion ones. And so I'm like, oh my God, that would be so cool. You know, the Jim Clark connection, yada, yada, yada. And then I found out it's the electric. I'm like, well, I don't know anything about the electric Mini. So, you know, you go to the Googles. Yeah. 100-mile range.
Yeah, and
what do you do with 100-mile range? You do nothing with 100-mile range.
The current Mini, electric Mini, is 100-mile range, and I can't remember. Somebody else just came out.
Oh, this is a new one. This is like a 2020 or 21.
Yeah, and somebody else just came out with a new car with 100-mile range. But the funny thing is, a lot of guys that own electric cars are starting to say, you know, they had the range anxiety and, oh no, I don't want 100 miles. No, I don't want 100 miles. You know, I got to have more. So they're buying these 300-mile, you know, cars and paying extra for the big batteries. And they're finding out now that they pay attention to this stuff, they don't ever drive more than 100 miles, you know, between opportunities to charge. So
Well, I guess that's true if you think about it. If you're going somewhere that has a charging station.
I mean, you leave your house and you drive
Okay.
to the museum and they've got a charging station,
Yep.
and then you drive home, you're good. And that's what I was looking at
Hmm.
with a Chevy Volt, because when I was looking at the Volt, I only lived like 12 miles from Barber's. So I, in theory, could drive it to Barber's on electric, plug it in
Hmm.
at Barber's because they had charging stations, and drive it home. I'd never have to put gas in the car. But if I did, if I did go farther than that, it still had the, gas motor to help it out. So I was trying to think. I
Interesting. Well,
think I
now I
have
got
a,
to go back and look at that Mini again. Man, wonder if it's sold.
they're supposed to be fun, but the range scares people. But
It's a scary range. It is. I mean, you think about it. I mean, because what happens if you're out driving around and you get a phone call that you got to get somewhere? What do you do? Because if you're already 30 miles into a trip and you got to do something, that's going to take, it's risky. It's risky.
you don't have that little safety buffer. But if you really consider it, the second thing to do is look and see where the charging stations are around you.
Well, true. Yeah.
And I think being, well, Bowling Green, Nashville's not that far from you. I think there's probably a reasonable number of charging stations, because if you're
Yeah. I mean,
going anywhere,
most,
you're going to Bowling Green or you're going to
right. We're
Nashville.
either going Bowling Green or Nashville. And yeah, I mean, I would agree that, I mean, obviously, I know we have charging stations at the Corvette Museum. And anytime we go down to Nashville, pretty much anywhere you're going in the city or in the suburbs, you're typically seeing a charging station or two around. So they're around. Yeah. I mean, they are. And Nashville's, I think out to the airport is 55 miles. And that's to the southeast of of Nashville from here. So, I mean, really everything we would do is in 100-mile range. Even if you were to drive there and back, you're pushing it at the very end, but
Yeah, I mean, and it's not something you're going to take back home to Detroit or whatever, but
no.
but you just rent something for that, or you borrow the wife's car.
Yeah. It is still available. It is a 2021 and it has 6,300 miles on it.
Geez, I bought my 2020 with 600. What are they
Well,
asking for it?
somebody had fun with this. I'm not going to say. About 33,000.
That seems a little high, because Mini's one of the 4 brands that right now aren't really getting any markups.
Yeah,
They
that
come with
is.
car clubs.
There you go. So sorry for those that are listening and not watching the video. I showed a picture of the front end of the Mini with the Lotus Jim Clark number 5 tribute paint job on it.
What wall art are you talking about, Jason?
Wall art. I missed his comment. Hang on.
It may have happened since I've been gone, but I'm trying to.
Oh, I don't think it's a 1-to-1. I don't think it's wall art. They actually did a 1-to-1 like model car kit, like sculpture in the building there.
Well, when I was there, we had full size form. He's asking about. Oh, those are done by Aunt Amstead. Mr. Barber saw. Barber's has 4 of them. And we got the Aston Martin DB1 Le Mans car kit first. Mr. Barber saw it advertised at auction in Goodwood or something, and he never said to buy it, so the buyer never bid on it. And then he said, "Why didn't you get that?" And we said, "Oh, well." So we ended up getting in touch with Ant and had it custom made for us. And then he also made a Lotus 11 and a Lotus 7, all 1/1 scale. We bought it at the same time. Biggest crates you've ever seen. They were 8 feet high and 40 feet long that they came in. Took forever to get them out of the containers and that. And then eventually we ended up with the Ferrari GTO at Barber's that's full size. That was actually ordered from Ant by a collector in Japan. So he built it in the UK, shipped it to Japan. The guy in Japan got it and it wouldn't fit in his house. So he ordered another one's 2/3 scale, and that one went up, and Ant called the museum and said, "Hey, would you guys be interested in that?" And, well, sure. So then it got shipped from, actually it got shipped back to Ant, and then it was shipped to us. So it went England to Japan, Japan to England, England to Alabama.
Man.
But that's who did it. And if you wonder who Ant Amstead is, he's the guy that replaced Ed on Wheeler Dealers. And he's the guy that married the blonde from one of the housing shows that got divorced. I can't think of what her name is, but.
Wow. You pay way too much attention to reality TV, John.
When you're paying attention, you don't know Ant, you kind of pay attention what he does. I've met him a couple of times. He's come and seen the sculptures, but
all right. So we solved no problems tonight. Awesome.
No, but hopefully we entertained the
people.
couple of dozen listeners that we had live, and audio podcasts are being released in 3-day intervals. So this one actually won't hit audio till later this month. But like I said, I'm working on getting all that done. Website's getting updated. NoDrivingGloves.com. All the videos for these shows are also now available on NoDrivingGloves.com. I believe every one of our episodes is there. And every episode that we did video is there, but we do have a bunch that have went up audio only, and I've got to kind of work on that. But like I said, the website's updated. Buy us a coffee, NoDrivingGloves.com/coffee. And you can buy us a cup of coffee if you think we're doing okay here. You got ideas for the show, topic ideas, questions, feel free to shoot them off to us. We promise we'll answer them in our long circular way, but
yeah.
I think that's going to be it for this Wednesday evening.
That's a wrap.
I think I'm out of here.
Same here.
Dude.